What's up guys, I'm Grant with Quake LED and we're in the workshop for another installation video. So we have one of our customers, JK's, behind us, and we're going to be swapping out their headlights to one of our upgraded Quake LED headlights. Browse our website because we offer so many different options as far as the 7-inch round goes, but the installation will be the same for whatever product you choose. So stay tuned and we'll go through everything you need to do to get the daytime running lights working and the turn signals. All right guys, so a few tools that you're going to need to actually get the headlights installed. First off, a new set of headlights, so hopefully you purchased a top-of-the-line product from Quake LED. As far as the actual mechanical tools you'll need, you're going to need a T15 bit. So I have a little multi-tool here that includes the Torx bits in it, a couple of pry tools to remove the plastic clips that hold your actual grill in place. I have a nice pair of dikes just to make cutting a little easy, a couple different wire strippers, and if you don't have a pry tool, you can make do with just a flathead screwdriver. And then once again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I did purchase a fuse tap just to make the installation run a little bit smoother. So with that few tools, you should be able to get those headlights out and in about, call it an hour, hour and a half. Let's get to it. Now that we popped the 6 plastic clips off the grill, the only thing holding the grill in is going to be more clips that run along the bottom. To get it off, you really just got to give it a good yank. So essentially, you'll pull it and you can hear the clips start to pop, pull it again, and then pop it like so. And then essentially now the only thing holding it on is the actual wiring harness for your turn signals. We're going to pull back on this little red keeper that's holding the light in, and then we're going to push down on the black. It should just go ahead and pop out of there. I'm a lefty, so I'm going to come around this way. So there's that keeper removed. Click down on the black tab, and it should just kind of wiggle its way off. Some people will not use these plugs. They'll just rotate and pop the bulb out itself. I don't recommend doing that because if you do touch the bulb with your fingers, the oils on it can actually heat up and it could actually damage the bulb itself. Alright guys, so now that the grill is fully removed and set off to the side in a safe spot, we're going to go ahead and take out the old headlights. So you can see there are 4 T15 screws that are going to be holding this metal trim ring around the light. So we're going to remove those. And so those of you that do not have the LED package, when you remove those, the trim ring will come off and the old headlight will just kind of fall out. So make sure you're there and ready to pull it out, and then you'll just unplug it. On the LED package, you'll notice when I remove these 4 screws, the trim ring will come off, but then the entire bucket assembly will come out itself, which is why we have the headlight ring adapters for the 2017 and 2018 models with the LED package. Guys, so now the next step is actually putting the aftermarket LED headlights in. So to do that on the LED package, we will have to pop in these quick trim rings. They are labeled left and right on the back. And take in mind, the left ring is the actual left headlight of the Jeep sitting from the driver's position. So we're going to go ahead and just line this guy up. There's only one way that she'll actually even be able to click on. And we're going to go ahead and pop her into place. All right guys, so before I actually throw the headlights in here and plug them in, I'm gonna start making my connections for the actual daytime running lights and turn signals themselves, just so that way I have access to the buckets and can make the wires look pretty. And then the actual final step will be throwing the headlights in. So as far as your turn signals, the wire that you're going to want to splice is right here below the actual headlight itself. It's what plugs into the factory turn signals that are in your grille. So if you isolate this plug, you'll notice that there are 3 wires going into it. So there's your black wire, which is your grounding. The middle wire is for your parking lights. So when you turn your lighting dial 1 click to run your parking lights, that's what this wire is for. The one on the very outside, far opposite of the grounding wire, the black wire, is going to be the turn signal wire. So this is what you're going to want to tap for your turn signals. It's going to be the same on the other side of the vehicle as well. So you have the black wire, the middle wire is the parking lamps, and then that outside wire is what you're going to want to splice. For people that do want their halos, the actual daytime running lights themselves, to essentially be kind of like they're switched so they can turn them on and off, this is really popular if you have colored halos and you run a color that might not necessarily be legal down the road. You can tie into this middle wire, and that way your halos are actually on that park light switch. So when you want your daytime running lights to come on, you click that dial, and when you want them off, you turn it off. That is not the way that this customer wants their halos installed, but that is one of the many options that you could do if you did want to have a physical switch essentially to turn them on and off. So we're going to tie into the turn signal, and then we're going to run another wire up to the fuse box, which is going to be the other option for tying into the actual daytime running lights. All right guys, so using this little alligator clip that was provided by Quake LED, we're going to go ahead and find that turn signal wire opposite of the black on the very outside. We're going to go ahead and just drape this over that wire, make sure the wire goes down into the teeth, and then we're going to go ahead and close that tab. And then I'm going to use a pair of pliers, which are actually just right here on the tip of my wire strippers. We're going to go ahead and make sure that makes a nice good connection. We're going to double check that this has made a good connection, which it has, and the plastic clip has been clipped. And so we are good to actually attach the yellow wire, which is the turn signal, to this plug. So that'll be the wire there. And in order to run this cleanly, they give you quite a long bit of wire. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of play around with running it up into the actual bucket itself and find the cleanest way to route it. So it looks like just up here through the back is going to be the best option. And I'm going to pull it on up and through. Yeah, you can go ahead and electrical tape this up. I've never had any problems since it's just a quick little signal wire connection. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap some electrical tape around it just because I can. All right guys, so we can see we gave you way too much wire. You can go ahead and shorten this wire if you would like. Although since our headlights don't have the need for an external anti-flicker module, since they're built into the headlight itself, we have plenty of room for this wire behind the actual headlight itself. So I'm going to go ahead and just wad this up and then zip tie it, and it will go ahead and ride nice in place. All right guys, so now that we have the turn signal wire installed and in place, we're going to go ahead and take the red wire, which we are going to worry about and make the connection to later, and we're just going to go ahead and run that up through the bucket itself and then place it just up here out of the way for now. So that will go ahead and ride like that. So in order to plug these in, we have included the little adapter plugs that you'll need that take it from the H4 plug out of the headlight to the H3 plug. So we're going to go ahead and place those in place now. All right guys, so the red keeper, when I tried plugging the H3 end of this plug back in, didn't quite want to seat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this box cutter, and you can see this little triangle plastic tab. I'm just going to shave down a tiny little bit of this. And so when you do this, always remember you can take more material off, but you can never add more plastic. So it's good to just do a nice little small cut and then see if she'll plug in, and repeat as necessary. almost there. I felt it click, but it just was still a little too high. All right, guys, so in plugging in the headlight, that little plastic tab was preventing me from being able to actually lock the end cap on the factory plug. So I have gone ahead and just used zip ties and an X pattern to go ahead and hold that plug in place. It's really just a second measure of security to make sure that it never comes out. We are aware that we did order a bad batch of these, and this problem has been since corrected, so you should not have to do this. But I'm gonna go ahead and do it just as a secondary measure of precaution. So now we're gonna go ahead and plug everything in. So we're not gonna forget to plug in the turn signal marker itself. And then we're gonna plug the actual headlight into this adapter. And then like I said, there is plenty of room in this housing for all of this extra wire. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure that nothing is pinched, knotted, or twisted, and just go ahead and start to line up this headlight. And you can see that this trim ring has the exact spots, so you'll notice that there's these two little black notches here and a little black notch here on the bucket, so that's gonna just line up, and that headlight will be perfectly level and not able to rotate in place. We're then going to take our trim ring and our T15 bolts, and we're gonna go ahead and start lining everything back up. So we have the headlight in here, everything's lined up nice and neat. So we're gonna go ahead and put these T15 screws back in. I'm gonna try and just go ahead and start them by hand. It's easier said than done. But now that it's just started a tiny bit, grab my Torx bit and just start to crank it down. I'll get the two diagonal ones in place just so that holds everything nice and lined up, and then we can finally tighten them down here at the end. So after I had the wire lying over the engine bay, I didn't really find a clean way to run across the top to get over to the other side headlight for the daytime running lights. So I ended up actually pulling it down and rerunning it. I ran around this body frame. It's actually on the back side of this rail here, secured with 3 zip ties, and then back around over here and up through the headlight housing. So this way I can tie the 2 daytime running lights for the white halos together and then run them to the fuse box right here. So it's a much cleaner way to run it rather than draping it over. So now we're gonna go ahead and work on the passenger side. So once again, we're gonna go ahead and tie that wire into this turn signal marker over here. And essentially repeat what we did on the driver's side, but over here for the passenger side. Guys, we are close. We are real close. After we do this, we only have to connect the daytime running lights and we are done. All right guys, so the halos are mounted into buckets. We have tied into the turn signals. The only thing left to do is to tie the daytime running lights. So on this halo, there's a red wire coming off of each headlight that we're going to tie together and run to the M9 fuse slot in the fuse box. The M9 fuse slot is for rear heated seats, and by tying into that fuse, essentially every time you turn on the Jeep, the halos are just going to come on. There's a few other ways that you could hook the power wire for your daytime running lights. Whether this is a Bluetooth controller that has color change halos or any type of headlight that has a daytime running light, you're going to be stealing power from the same spots. So you can do the M9 fuse bank if you wanted to come on with the ignition. As I mentioned earlier, you could go off the middle wire of your park lamp plugs if you want them to be on the lighting dial themselves. So you twist your dial one click for the little amber markers in your grille to come on, and your halos would come on as well. The other option that you could do is run them straight to the battery if it's a Bluetooth controller. Then you do have to turn on the halos through the app itself. I definitely don't recommend that method. And you could throw them on a separate switch themselves. So that way you could just hop in your vehicle, flip the switch, and the halos come on. So we're gonna go ahead and tie into the fuse, and that is what this customer wanted. Alright guys, so I have tied the two daytime running lights together right here, fed them into one wire that's cut to length to run around the fuse box and up through the outside by this little grounding block. And now we're going to connect this to the actual fuse tap itself. So I'm going to go ahead and undo this. It's just a standard little crimp connect. So we're going to go ahead and run this wire on the inside and just crimp it down. And then we will wrap it again in electrical tape, just to make sure that it's fully waterproof, and you saw I heat shrunk this connection as well. And so I have found a nice little groove along the back side of the actual fuse box itself to run the wire. You could put it in a split loom, but since we're only running a couple of feet, I've tucked it down against the factory wires, and you can barely even see that it's there. All right guys, so now that we got the wire ran, we are tying into the M9 fuse bank. So on the little diagram, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out a light so you guys can go ahead and see that. You can see that the M9 fuse is located right there, which corresponds to that fuse right here. So M7, M9. M9 is an empty bank right there. I went and threw a couple fuses in here just to protect the halo circuit itself. Once again, you don't have to do that, but I'm going to. And then, let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here this way, and there's a perfect little groove for this wire to sit in. And I'm gonna go ahead and run up by this grounding block here, and that way I'm not really pinching that wire in the fuse box itself. Which you can make a little notch, but because it's just going to be pulling very little current, I usually don't have any problems just running it out the side of the fuse box. Alright guys, so now that we have made the connection into the N as in mother 9 fuse box, we are fully done. So we just have to reverse the steps we did to get the grill off to put everything back together. So we'll snap the grill into place. We'll make sure that we plug back in the turn signals. A lot of people forget to do this, and they call us saying, hey, my turn signals won't work. Plug them in, and then put the 6 clips back across the top, and we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll be done. Alright guys, so you can see the headlights are fully installed and in place. I have the Jeep clicked on to running mode, and the halos have automatically come on. I'll go around and show you what the turn signals look like when they're operational. So you can go ahead and see we have the left turn signal and then the right turn signal. These headlights are definitely a much more aggressive look and going to be much more capable in terms of the factory halogens and even the Mopar LEDs. You know, a much more aggressive look, and you're going to get a much better performing low beam and high beam. We have already aimed them back down to where the factory headlights were adjusted. So there's just in the top outside corners of each mounting bucket, there's a little T15. You can do it with the grill on. So that's the final step. And I hope you guys enjoy your new Quake LED headlights.